Walking a path along the roots of Pikes Peak, you take a fork in the road toward the Anselm Society digital pub. Inside is a raucous conversation on the arts, faith, and is that an original Georgia O'Keeffe in the corner? Hmm. In the corner table by the fire are three people. One of them just realized that she thinks the kid over there just stepped out of that painting, but that can't be right. Anyway, that's me, your co host, Mandy Hauk. Welcome to Believe to See, a podcast of the Anselm Society Arts Guild. Here at Believe to See, we explore the relationship between faith, art, and storytelling. Our goal is to connect the great story, the great stories, and our own stories so that we can better understand what it means to live with a Christian imagination. So, first, I just want to ask Matthew, did you see that kid step out of that painting over there?
Oh, I'm glad it wasn't just me.
Oh,
Y
okay.
You're always afraid to ask that sort of thing, but yes, yes, I
I
did.
thought so. Well, maybe our guest will have something to say about that. So, our guest, we have spoken to her before a couple of years ago, Carolyn Leiloglou, and she is an author of some books that have something to do with the silly thing I just said. So, let me introduce Carolyn really quick. Carolyn is the granddaughter of art collectors. She is the daughter of an art teacher, and she is a homeschooling mom to four wildly creative kids. She is an award winning author whose poems and short stories have appeared in children's magazines around the world, and she reviews her favorite children's books on her online platform, House Full of Bookworms. So, welcome, Carolyn. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderfully well, and I'm pretty sure you did see a kid just step out of that painting, and
I
it
thought
probably
so.
was a restorationist.
I think maybe. Do you want to explain the lore for the listeners who, I will say, listeners, I really think you should go listen to the first episode,
Mm.
which is back in 2023. Just if you go to the little podcast page, you can search Carolyn Leiloglou. Did I say it right again?
Leiloglou, yes.
Leiloglou. It's Leiloglou.
Mhm.
So, um, yeah, just search for that and listen to the other episode before or after this one. But anyway, for those who need a little refresher, can you explain the lore of your trilogy?
Absolutely. So the Restorationists takes place in a world just like ours, except that art is powerful, paintings are portals, and one family has been tasked with protecting them. So the series starts out with Beneath the Swirling Sky, which follows Vincent. He's a 12-year-old kid who has given up on art after a bad experience, but then he learns his family are the last restorationists and have this ability to travel into paintings. So when his little sister disappears into Van Gogh's Starry Night, he and his cousin Georgia are the only ones who can rescue her. So it's got a lot of adventure. All the paintings they visit are real paintings. Um, and it's got a homeschooled character, I like to point out, just because, I'm a homeschooling mom. So Georgia is a homeschooled character. And then it's got a faith element as well. And so each of the three books follows a different character as the lead character. So the story is kind of one continuous arc, but each book has its own kind of character arc for that kid. So Vincent's the first, and then the second book is about Georgia, and then the third book that just came out or is just coming out, depending on when this is airing, follows Ravi, and it was a lot of fun to write. So it's kind of wild that the series is completed with that one. But yeah, so in this world, there's also good guys, the restorationists. There's bad guys, the distortionists, who are intent on theft and destruction. And so our characters kind of have to fight to defend these paintings and each other from evil in the world.
That is so great. I was going to ask you about, does Vincent, is he still in books two and three?
Yes, yeah. So
Oh,
all
okay. So,
three of those characters are in each of the books. It's just who's the kind of the viewpoint in a way. Um,
right.
yeah.
Now the first one, Beneath the Swirling Sky, really focuses on Van Gogh, but
Mhm.
there is some Georgia O'Keeffe in there too, right?
That's the second book,
I think.
yeah.
Oh, that's the second
So
book.
the first
Okay,
book
that makes
has, mainly Van Gogh, but there's also some Rembrandt, and then the second book has Georgia O'Keeffe as well as several other artists, and then I know what you're gonna ask because everyone's been asking me this, but I didn't have a
yeah.
feature artist in the same way for book 3,
Okay.
because it's more about what's happening, which is a heist at the Met in New York. And so
Oh,
it's
wow.
more of a featured place, but probably the main artist who does get featured would be Henry Ossawa Tanner and then some of the Hudson River School artists. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Oh, that's really cool. And one of the things I love, I remember we talked about this in your previous podcast interview, the you're very detailed with your rules.
Mm,
And so the destructionists have the paintings that in real life are stolen paintings.
yes.
Is that
The
right?
distortionist and, I
Distortionists.
tried to follow, like, since these are all real paintings, I tried to, place the paintings where they actually are in real life. Now this it gets kinda complicated because, museums loan out paintings all the time, so when I'm doing my research, things could be different places. I try to, be particular. And then, the both the FBI and, Interpol have search databases where you could find stolen paintings and try to figure out like
Hmm.
are they have they been recovered? Are they still missing? So I the writing actually is better with limits, right? All creativity is better with limits. So that was my limit.
Very true.
I had the bad
Yeah.
guys had to only have stolen paintings, and
Hmm.
what's interesting about book 3 following that limit is one of the stolen paintings actually got recovered between the writing and the publication of this book.
No
So,
way.
What?
it's kinda cool, like, I found out during the copy editing process, my copy editor was like, "Actually, this just got recovered, here's this news article," and it had happened after I had written it, and I'm like, "Let's leave it in, I bet those restorationists had something to do with it."
The
There you
They
restorationists
go.
did
did it.
it.
That's the only
Exactly.
explanation.
Did you say what painting that was? Because I think I remember hearing about a recovered painting. What was it?
I think it was Saint Gregory of Nazianzus, I might be saying that wrong, it was a Peter Paul Rubens.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's so cool. That was one of my questions I was gonna ask you is if any of the stolen paintings, but I was gonna ask about books 1 and 2. I didn't know it was gonna be yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Were you
I
gonna
I
say
wish
something, Matt?
if someday Storm on the Sea of Galilee gets recovered, I'm gonna be right
Oh.
there at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum first in line.
We may have talked about this the last time you were on the
Yeah.
podcast. I think so. Listeners, there is a Netflix series called "This Is a Robbery."
Yes.
It is absolutely fascinating, and its focus is on the that painting that you
Yeah.
mentioned. It's Rembrandt's only
Mhm.
seascape,
Mhm.
and it is one of several very important works of art that were stolen from what was it, the Isabella Gardner
Isabella
Museum
Stewart
in
Gardner, yeah,
Boston.
in
Yep.
1990
There
on
you
St.
go.
Patrick's Day.
Largest art heist
Yep.
in history.
Yep.
It is still at
Mhm.
large,
Mhm.
and one of the elements where it's fascinating documentary.
Yeah.
But one of the things there was a time period around that time, late 80s, early 90s, where if you were, say, a mob boss and you wanted a get out of jail free
Hmm.
card, you steal a famous painting, and then if they're about to throw you in jail, you're like, "Hey, I have a Rembrandt. What if I give you the Rembrandt back and you let me out of jail?" So, very, very much distortionist
For
sort of
sure.
work, but
Yes.
it's it's fertile ground for a lot of your restorationist stuff.
Yeah, sorry I said I even when I said destructionist, I'm like, "That sounds wrong."
I
So,
mean, they're
distortionist,
also destroying, but yeah.
they are.
It makes
Well,
sense.
because right, and the rules in the book are that I remember that the paintings have to be framed,
They have to be
and so they
framed.
kinda refer to them like a window, right?
Yeah. It kind of opens the window to going into the artist's world, basically the world of the paintings, which are
Mhm.
all of the paintings of a particular artist are connected by what I call a corridor. So you enter the painting and then you can step from the painting into the corridor and go to any of the artist's other paintings. And so that's why I call it
Right.
traveling. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why there's a rule that you can't do a living artist because you might, like, mess with their brain
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
corridors are kind of their
Exactly.
Yeah,
So that
hooked
that
to who they
that's
are.
something important for book 2
Yeah.
for sure, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I am very fascinated by just how your specific upbringing, with you were so soaked in and
Mm,
surrounded by art. And I just love that um, you, I feel like you are the writer that you are, and
mm,
you have these specific story ideas because of the family God put you in. So, what do you
yeah.
think about that?
I think that's totally true. So Jonathan Rogers, the author of the Realtor King trilogy, he always says like, you should write the book that only you can write. And for a long time, I'm like, I don't even know what that means, but, um, but it's so true. Like, I am not an artist myself. I didn't study art, but my mom was an art teacher, so I grew up knowing a lot about art, and my grandparents were art collectors, so I grew up around a lot of art, and we went to the museum. And then, I don't think we talked about this last time, but kind of as family lore, I also knew that my grandparents had had a painting stolen from them. So they
Oh,
I think
wow.
I was 2 when it happened. They had an art gallery down on the San Antonio Riverwalk, and some thieves came in with, box cutters just like in the Gardner Museum heist and cut a a Rockwell from the frame, and they never got caught. I have a little
A
newspaper
Rockwell?
I have a little newspaper article about it.
So that painting was never recovered?
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So that was always kind of family lore. Like I grew up knowing about this that had happened. So kind of like you can see all these elements coming together to inspire the book. And then the house in the book is kind of loosely based on my grandparents' house, but set in the
Mhm.
Texas countryside.
Yeah, it must have just been packed with art.
It
That's
was,
just
yeah.
that's so I love that you didn't take it for granted though,
Mm,
because sometimes I think as if we're steeped in something, we take it for granted.
yeah.
So that your grandparents and parents must have really
Mm.
you must have absorbed how they valued it. So that's cool. So what do you think, Matt, about you I wanna know what you think of her rules because 'cause you're the rules man. I admire them.
I'm so glad you asked.
I know you are.
You know I love rules. So here's my question, and we may have discussed this last time, and that's okay. That's okay,
That's
right?
okay.
Time is a flat circle. So what do you have to do to qualify as a painting? Like if I just go to Hobby Lobby, slap some paint on a canvas and frame it, could I
Mm.
jump into it? Or is there more specialized rules that apply?
It's a little bit more specialized, but I don't think I super defined, like, exactly what it is, but it has to be by someone who's truly an artist. It doesn't necessarily have to be just paint. There are definitely ones that they travel into that are more like pencil or like chalk pastel or, different types of things. The rule is it has to be framed. Um, and yeah, so and then the paintings of a particular artist are connected. Yeah, I don't know. You couldn't just and you wouldn't want to hop into your own painting. That would be really trippy. And you would have to
Oh,
also be a restorationist or a distortionist to have the ability to travel.
that's true. Can they jump into, like, abstract paintings or
They can. So there's a somewhat abstract painting in book 2 that they enter. It's by Georgia O'Keeffe. It's called alligator pear and dish. And depending
okay.
on how you heard that word pear, it might affect how you interpret the painting when you enter it.
Oh,
So that's just a little, yeah.
little
so
wink at
so
okay.
abstract, yeah, can be more like just like in real life, right? You bring more with you to an abstract painting, your own interpretation versus the artist like giving you more of the interpretation, like how to see it. So when you
Oh,
enter an
okay.
abstract painting, you kind of have to like decide beforehand, this is what I'm entering. I can see this clearly. But yeah, they don't go into a whole lot of abstract paintings because I think it's pretty complicated.
Yeah.
And a lot of them aren't framed, honestly, right? If the
Oh,
paintings
that's
have to be
true,
framed.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark Rothko's paintings, yeah, I couldn't imagine. Oh, I'm all red. Do they get and they get impacted by the painting. I remember I read an excerpt with it was a Georgia O'Keeffe painting, and they were, like, blinded by the
Yeah.
sunshine.
Right, it becomes like a real even though it still looks painted, right, it becomes physical and tangible to them when they're inside of it.
I was this, like, super fun to write,
It
all 3
it
of these
was it was
books?
fun to, like, imagine what would it be like to be inside this painting. It was a whole lot of research too. 'Cause
Yeah.
like I said, I wasn't an art major, and I mean, even if I was, like, even just trying to research, like, routes, okay, well, if they make it to this museum, then what paintings are there, and then how can they get from here to there? So, it was a
Mhm.
lot of research, and then trying to figure out the, stolen paintings was actually one of the harder parts, because those databases are not super user friendly.
Oh,
I had
yeah.
to actually apply to use the Interpol one. Like the FBI one, anyone can access that, but I don't know that if it's as updated.
Does the FBI kinda suspect that you might be an art thief now?
They might be looking at my Google searches and being
She
like,
keeps
"Oh,
typing "easiest paintings to steal." What's going on?
I swear I would, like, email museums and they wouldn't respond to me because I'd be like, "This sounds like I'm a thief."
If one were to steal this, Van Gogh, what would be
Yeah.
the best time to do it?
How how did they manage to steal that one painting? I just feel like, Matthew, you have to have gotten a little, I don't know, did you like the idea of applying to Interpol to be able to, that sounds like something you would
Oh,
enjoy doing.
absolutely. Just saying the sentence, "I
Yeah,
asked Interpol," it's like, "Okay,
I
well,
know.
that's great."
Oh, that's right. Well, and then you also, like, sometimes the paintings are rotated out of the exhibition and then they're, like, stuck in storage.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
you have to know when they come out of this painting, where are they gonna be? That's fascinating. I feel like I got stuck on this just because it's so fun, but I should ask some other question. I wanna know, because I know Matthew right now is working on the 2nd book in his trilogy. So, do you have any advice for, how do you go about writing 3 books instead of a standalone?
Man, writing book 2 and 3 was completely different from writing book 1. Because when you're writing book 1, like, no one's waiting for it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And, you're having to use your own self-motivation to keep going, and you meander, and you're trying stuff out, like, I definitely tend a little bit more toward discovery writing. So there were definitely things lots of chapters that had to be cut out and rewritten. But
Mhm.
with books 2 and 3, since I was under contract already, that was a different experience because I had a deadline and I only had a few months to push out, a first draft, and I had to kinda get the, not outline, but, like, summary approved, and that, of course, would still change a little bit as I wrote because, I can't help it. Um, but yeah, so that it is a very different experience to me, and I am not sad. I mean, I'm sad that I don't have another book that someone's waiting for right now, but I'm not sad to not be on deadline.
That's
So,
true.
I'm curious what the, progress was there, like, what order things came in. Like, did you pitch the original book thinking this gonna be part 1 of a trilogy, or did it originally conceive of the idea as a one-off standalone book, then books 2 and 3 came later?
So it was always a trilogy in my mind. Book 1 does wrap up fairly tidily. Book 2 and 3, like, there's a little bit more of a cliffhanger between. Um, like we know there's stuff that really still needs to be resolved between book 2 and 3. So I always knew, like, where I was trying to go big picture, but I actually didn't even know who the 3rd character was gonna be when I started the series. I
Oh,
pretty quickly knew that I wanted to tell George's story next, but I didn't really know, like, how where it would go after that. And so it's not a secret anymore that Ravi is the main character of book 3 because you can see him on the cover. I was trying to keep it close to the vest for a while, but,
yeah, because it
yeah.
could have been the little sister Lily,
I know a lot of people
right?
are like,
Yeah.
"I want Lily's story. I would love to write that someday, guys." But she could not have been the main character for this, 3rd book because of, what needed to happen to defeat the bad guys. It
Okay.
would not have worked from Lily's perspective. Ravi was really like this was his story, to
Okay.
be the lead in.
So I'm also curious about this decision to have a different viewpoint character for each of the books in the trilogy. Because I'll admit I toyed with that idea. I had a version I was like, ah, it's too complicated. Ah." But you stuck with it, even though I'm guessing it was really complicated. So what was the thinking behind it? Like, what benefit do you think this added to the story, and what were the challenges of it?
So, it's so interesting, like, I always wanted to do it that way, and I'm not really sure why why I came up with that, and I definitely not from my editor, but had some pushback from other people. I was in a writing class at the time, and the instructor was like, "I don't think you could call that a series then, if they're different characters." I was like, "Well, it's all one continuous story." But what I like about it is that I'm, able to tell, like, a full character arc in one book, and then but then continue the story and have another character have their own character arc. And so I really liked that about it. And because I'd never really considered doing it a different way, it's hard for me to say like, oh well, I weighed the pros and cons. It was just like it always was that in my head, like it just was.
Right,
So
because the first one was very much about Vincent
mhm.
really struggling with having this talent that he didn't really want to pursue.
Yeah, exactly.
And so each of your characters has a specific, um, thing to overcome,
Yeah.
which I love that because I can hear your mother's heart
Mm,
and your teacher's heart in that, approach.
yeah. But yeah,
So
I think you're right about that.
what kind of reaction have you gotten? Like, I have a friend who writes another Matthew is also my friend, but I specifically I have another friend, Fleur Bradley, who writes middle grade action adventure.
Mhm.
And she loves her kid fan mail.
Mm.
And so I was just wondering what I'm assuming. I think it's safe to assume you've gotten kid fan mail. I want to know what that's like.
Yeah, I will say when people ask me what the best part of writing a book is, I'm like, getting letters and emails and Instagram messages from kids and parents and, just saying how the books touch them, and I've had several, I would say, like, older readers, like early teens that have said, I was gonna give up on my art and I decided not to after I read this book, and I'm like, "That is, like, exactly what this book was about." 'Cause
Oh, that's
I
brilliant.
was the kid who gave up on writing.
Oh,
So,
me too.
like, I totally identify with Vincent's journey, right? Like, I wish I had not given up on writing. I didn't come back to it till after I had kids. But, I could have been doing it all that time, but I thought I wasn't good enough. And
Mhm.
so, like, Vincent is me in a lot of ways, right? So,
Yeah.
so I love that when I get those kind of letters from kids and or like, we read this and then I went to the museum, or the parents say like, "Oh, they spotted this T-shirt that had Van Gogh and the kids recognized it, and
Oh,
they
that's
want me to look up
awesome.
all the paintings for them to see." And so that's it's been really really great.
Do you know, I don't write middle grade, and it's just because that's just not the way my brain I can't think of middle grade stories. I think I when
I
I came
only
back
think
to
of middle.
writing
I've never grown up.
well, yeah. I when I came back to writing, very similar to you,
Mhm.
I stupidly thought, "Oh, I'll just write a children's book. Like, that's easy." No. So, I'm not s yeah, so middle grade to me would be way harder than what I write.
Mm,
That's a really unique thing about middle grade fiction is that you can really explore, um, that specific time period in someone's life, and, um,
mm,
it's such a what a benefit to be able to change a life like that. Not that people's lives can't be changed when they're older, but that's such a rich time period of exploration. And for you to be able to
mm.
impact kids like that is really cool. And I was also going to ask you, you mentioned that you have some older readers. I know your books are good. Same with Matt's, I think. They can be read alouds or read alones, right? It's sort of that sweet spot.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So the publisher markets it as middle grade, that's ages 8 to 12, but I hear from older readers all the time. And in fact, my beta readers were all of my oldest daughter's friends. So at the time that they started beta reading, they were like 15 or 16, and now they're like 20 to 21.
And they still love them, I'm
And they
sure.
still love it, and they're, like, super excited. One of them's my author assistant now, honestly, so,
Oh, how
um,
fun.
yeah, they have been really wonderful cheerleaders, for the series, and, her friends are all super creative, and my daughter as well, but yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. So what are your hopes for your readers? It sounds like, I mean, I think we already said, like, but yeah, what do you hope, what who's your ideal reader and what do you
Mm,
hope for them from reading your
yeah.
books?
So my ideal reader is, between that 8 to 14-year-old range probably. And they are someone who feels this creative impulse, but maybe they don't know if they're meant to have it, or maybe this is a childish thing they're supposed to put away, or maybe they don't think they're good enough. And so the number one thing is I want these readers to come away with the idea that they are made to create. And this
Mhm.
is something that is important and essential to our lives. And then also to have like a newfound appreciation of art. And then, the second and third books each have their own different themes. George's theme is about, all of our gifts are different, right? But none of them are less than. So her theme is about learning that every gift matters.
Oh,
And
cool.
then Ravi's theme is about belonging. And yeah, because I don't know how much I can say without giving away so much from book one and two.
Yeah, don't
Maybe I should stop
D
there.
yeah, that's good, that's good, but I love those themes, and I'm sitting here wishing my girls weren't 20, like, almost 27 and almost 30, but, I mean, they could still read them because
I
I
I
was a
hear
homeschool mom.
I hear from parents all the time how much the book meant to them, and so, I mean, I think it's probably good for any age. I try to take my readers seriously so that that anyone can read it, because these are, ideas and questions that I think about too, so
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the nice things about middle grade is you have the sweet spot, right? It's 8 to 12, or mine's kind of upper middle grade, so like 10 to 13, 10 to 14, whatever. But there's a lot of fluidity beyond that. I've
Mhm,
had kids who are like 6 years old, hear it as a read aloud, who enjoy it,
mhm.
and teens who will enjoy it too. And like you said, even grown-ups. If you write middle grade correctly, it should be accessible to ages beyond the exact bullseye target.
Yeah, because 'cause
Yeah,
you're not
yeah,
writing down to them, like, I really like what you said,
exactly.
you take your readers seriously,
Mhm.
it doesn't need to be childish to be,
Right.
or it shouldn't be, because 'cause we're
Yeah,
trying to pull them up and
yeah.
reach out toward them, so
Mhm.
Now, Mandy, I have a couple questions here. I know you're driving the bus on this interview, but I have a couple if I can just sort of take the wheel for a bit cuz
that's
these are
alright.
burning
Yeah,
questions.
go ahead, Keanu. I'm Sandra. I'll move over.
So, first question is, if you could go into any painting, which would it be and why? Like, cause me and my wife, we saw that traveling Van Gogh show where you're
Yeah.
like in a room and they project the Van Gogh stuff. That was cool. I loved it. I'm not sure I'd want to live in a Van Gogh painting though. So what would be your answer?
Well, mine is Van Gogh. It would definitely be Starry Night. I think that's
Yeah.
why I started with that one in the first book, because, um, when the kids go into the paintings, the paintings are alive in a way, right? Like they're actual surroundings they can interact with. But Starry Night, when you look at it, it already has so much movement in it,
Mhm.
and I just love that about that painting. And it already looks like the sky is swirling, and so I would love to just sit there and look up at the swirling sky.
Well, I think in our first, interview, we talked about that. We talked about the surrounding, or the Van Gogh immersive experience. But,
Yeah,
I remember you said that, we talked about how Van Gogh paints how things feel more than how they
yeah,
look, and I totally agree with you. I would be in Starry Night with you just because not only is it beautiful, but I wanna feel that. that
Mhm.
way, that sparkly, swirly. Might be a
Yeah.
little dizzying, but it would be worth it.
Oh, well, that's why you gotta sit down.
Yeah, sit down. What about you, Matthew? What painting?
I have been thinking about this, and part of me, that school that was like, "Hey, let's paint classical, like, Greek antiquity, but have, like, giant mountains in the background and that sort of stuff."
The Hudson River School?
There you go. I'd probably pick some
Yeah.
Hudson River School painting. Uh,
Yeah. Who is Albert Bierstadt? Is he one of those?
oh, that is ringing a bell. That is ringing a bell,
Is
and
that a Hudson River School guy, Carolyn?
I'm not sure, I don't know that name off the top of
Okay.
my head.
I think he did landscapes. That was one of Emmy's favorites when we were
I'm
homeschooling.
Mm.
gonna vamp
But go
while
ahead.
I Google
Are you gonna
this.
Google?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's
Give me, Albert Bierstadt. I'd just,
Okay.
build a little cottage in one of his paintings.
nice.
Alright, so
But
f
not a backlit cottage like Thomas Kincaid, not like
no, no
that.
oh. I know I just put
Mm-mm.
the name to the paintings like 30 seconds ago, but I will not have you impugn my man Albert Bierstadt like that. Um, alright, my final question before I give the wheel back to Mandy. So you, like you mentioned, you've done a lot of research into art history, especially like the arts we think of as like the classical arts, right? The important painters. So we know, the very famous ones, right? The Van Goghs, the Rembrandts, the George
Mhm.
O'Keeffes. For those of us who, like me, we enjoy art, but we don't consider ourselves experts. Is there like a second tier painter who you're like, okay, this person's not quite as well known, but do a Google image search, you'll thank me. Any of those that come to mind?
Well, I wouldn't call him a second tier painter, but I did mention Henry Ossawa Tanner is in my newest book, and I really appreciate his art. And when I mention him, a lot of people don't know him, and so he's definitely one that you should look up. He did a lot of biblical art. I will say when I did my research trip to the Met, he was. I mean, I didn't get to see the whole Met. Obviously, it's too big,
Yeah.
but he was one of the few. Religious paintings I even saw when I was there, which really surprised me because a lot of art is religious. So his flight to Egypt is in the American wing at the Met. Um, so yeah, so he
Oh,
he definitely
I know
plays an
that.
important
Okay.
role.
I
I
know that
love his.
painting. Yeah.
I didn't have it didn't work to include any of these in my book, but his paintings that have angels in them are just phenomenal. His like conception of what an angel is or would look like, the way he portrays it is just like totally unique.
Okay.
So you should check those out
Awesome. All right, Mandy, I officially hand the steering wheel back to you.
after the detour.
I just realized I've talked about her on the podcast in the past, Faith Ringgold. She mostly was known for doing her story quilts, and I think I might like to go into her story quilt, Tar Beach, and hang out in
Hmm.
there. Because first of all, it's a quilt, so it'd be nice and cozy. But they're like hang a Tar Beach is in the city. It's because they don't go to the beach, so they set up
Mm.
like the picnic table and the all the stuff that you would take to the beach, but it's on the roof of the tenement
Mm.
or building, and so it's tar. So they're like hanging out having a picnic on the
Mm.
roof. So anyway, I just thought of that. But I think most of her quilts are in storage. But anyway,
Mm.
I digress. I'm not a very good bus driver apparently. Um so one little thing I wanted to touch on because I know you talk about like the digital age. Do you mention that at all in the book? Like, I know you don't want to get preachy with your readers, but is there any sort of message in there?
Mm.
Done well, not preachy. Um, yeah. Do you say anything in your books about um, how the digital age affects our culture?
I feel like I may have mentioned it in my author's note, but there's not a lot of technology that comes into play in the books. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that I think about a lot as
Yeah.
both a creator and a mom.
Hmm.
um, I hate to see um especially young people using AI to create for them, whether it's a paper for school or
Hmm.
it's, a creative story that they've written or written in quotes, or, digital art that the AI created for them based on a prompt. And I'm not saying that that's always wrong or there's not a place for AI, but I feel like when you're surrendering that God-given creativity, like that is part of who we are, like who we are created to be.
Mhm.
God is a creator, and we are made to be like Him. We're, like Tolkien says, we're sub creators.
Right.
And when you're surrendering that voice, your artistic voice, um, either in writing or art or whatever it is, or even music, right? AI can do that too.
Mhm.
Um, you're you're surrendering something that is essential to your humanity.
Mm.
And so I hope that kids and parents will talk about that and just really think through, like, what am I giving up by using
Mm.
this, right? What am I
Yeah.
losing? I think about the fairy tale of the Little Mermaid, how she gives up her
That voice.
voice in order to get legs and to be able to go on
Yeah.
land and get what she thinks she wants. Um, but she can't get it, right?
Right.
Because she doesn't have her
The
voice
voice.
anymore.
Yeah.
And like, don't give up your voice. It's so essential to who you are and who you're created to be. And so I just gave a talk at the Young Writers Workshop retreat this past weekend, and it was really great. And but one of the things I was talking to the kids about is like, what's going to differentiate you from AI when AI can write as good as you can, and it's
Mhm.
your humanity, your human experiences,
Mhm.
your human ideas, your human emotions, and to make sure to put that into your writing and to really keep um, that writing connected to who you are as a person, and to not surrender that to an algorithm.
Right. I love that. Um, so I wanna have you tell our listeners one more time the titles of all the books and where they can get them, and when is this latest one coming out so that we can make sure
Yes.
they can get it.
Okay, so it's the Restorationists. The first book is Beneath the Swirling Sky. The second book is Between Flowers and Bones, and the final book is Beyond the Far Horizon.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, and that comes out September 9th. So this might be airing after that, but yeah. So
Okay.
hopefully it's already out and ready for you guys to have in your hands.
You know what? I don't think I really fully absorbed the second book's title is obviously the Georgia O'Keeffe one, Flowers and Bones.
Yeah.
I always love that about her, that she paints flowers and
uh
bones.
It's such an interesting contrast,
I
right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
did you have anything else to add, Mr. Matthew?
I
Or
do not
just
have anything else to add
okay.
other than
It's
to
just been
say, yeah, so listeners, depending on when this actually publishes, this will either be for pre-order or just order
yep.
it. So either way,
Yeah.
hop on, search for these, and yeah, if you're the sort of person who listens to, say, an Anselm podcast, you're the sort of person who's going to like
Hmm.
these books.
For sure.
I think
Thank
that's
you
true.
so much for joining us again. This was so, and you I'm sorry, you do have to write Lily's story because we have to interview you again. So,
I would love to write
just
Lily's story.
without
You
a
guys
deadline.
buy some books, and then,
Okay.
the publisher will be like, "You must write Lily's story."
Yes,
I would
you
love to do it.
must.
I definitely have some ideas.
Oh, good. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as you can tell, things are winding down here at the Anselm Society Digital Pub. The fire is down to embers, the customers are trundling home, and you've polished off your final glass. Once again, Believe to See is a podcast of the Anselm Society Arts Guild. If you have a minute, we would love for you to rate and review the show on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you next time.